Thank you for being here tonight. Clinton Prairie High School, we want to thank Miss Schilling, Angie Schilling, for helping us out tonight. We, of course, thank the Clinton Prairie administration for allowing us to have the forum here in this beautiful auditorium here in Gopherland, and we appreciate all the folks that help us out here at Clinton Prairie each and every week with school kids. So tonight is the Sheriff's Forum, the Clinton County Sheriff's Forum. We have 4 candidates, and we are very excited to be able to bring this to you tonight. Not only are we bringing it to you live, as if you don't know that because you're here live, but the folks out in internet land are also being able to see this live streaming on Clinton County Daily News and WILO TV. So that is being done as well. So the folks at home can experience not probably quite the excitement and energy that you are, but they're going to be able to experience the forum this evening. I want to share with you just a couple of housekeeping rules. If you have a cell phone, we'd like for you to make sure you turn that off or make sure you put that on silent. We'd greatly appreciate that. We thank you for doing that now. Also want to give you a little bit of the ground rules. We do have 4 candidates tonight. We're going to go to 7:45, so we're going to do about an hour and 15 minutes. We're going to get as many questions as we possibly can in. We also wanted to give them plenty of time after the forum to actually shake your hand, talk to you, and if you have any questions for any individual candidate, you would have that opportunity to talk to them this evening. The candidates will have 3 minutes to start. They will introduce themselves and have 3 minutes to do that. They will have 1 minute to answer a question, and those questions can be also, I should say, if there's not enough time and they want to defer to another question, they can do that, but we just ask that they would always answer the question that has been posed to them. The questions have been collected throughout the last couple of weeks through media. Both WILO and our Clinton County Daily News and the Frankfort Times have been collecting those questions, and we have been collecting questions this evening. If you do have a question for us this evening, Don or Joe from our Clinton County Chamber of Commerce Board will make sure you just slip up your hand. You may have a question in the middle of the forum that comes to mind. If you'll slip up your hand, Don and Joe will keep an eye, and they will make sure that they get you a sheet so that you can write that question down, and we'll make sure we'll get it up here. We're not going to be redundant. We're not going to be disrespectful, so we want to make sure that we have the questions that make the most sense and certainly have the most teeth as far as an answer is concerned from our candidates. Now's the time to introduce our questioners. I appreciate all the hard work that our media does on each and every day. We have a daily newspaper. We also have a daily internet service. Well, the daily newspaper both online and on paper, and then we have WILO television and of course WILO radio and Party Line. And the host was the former host of Party Line, but is the producer of Party Line with us tonight, Mr. Ken Hartman. Give Ken a hand tonight as he's helping us out there working over. The publisher of the Frankfort Times, they're busily working. I'm going to dock Sharon for a minute. She was a minute late tonight, but I'm going to be...
Go second.
Okay, you have to go second. That's right. Sharon is our publisher of the Frankfort Times, and you see her editorial each and every day in the Frankfort Times. She's also a Rotarian and very committed to our community. Miss Sharon Bardonner, would you please welcome Sharon Bardonner? As I mentioned earlier, we have 4 candidates for sheriff. We have the folks that are standing to my left. We have Rich Kelly, we have Jared Blacker, Matt Myers, and Mark Mitchell, and they're going to introduce themselves in just a moment. But before we do anything else, I think things always start off better with prayer. Would you join me? Father, we thank you for this time together tonight. We thank you for the opportunity to be Americans, Lord, to have the opportunity to vote, to have the opportunity of free expression, to be able to share our ideas, and Lord, our vision. I thank you, Lord, that you give us vision. In fact, your word says that people perish without a vision. And I ask now, Lord, that you would guide the candidates, you'd guide their thinking and their thoughts, you'd be with us come voting day to put the right people into office. And I just ask, Lord, for a good night, that we would celebrate community tonight. And we pray these things in Christ's name. Amen. Amen. All right. Well, we had a very scientific way of going first. I asked them to pick a number between 1 and 50, and Mr. Mark Mitchell got the winning number. And so Mark has chosen to begin tonight. Some candidates are going to come to the podium. Some may stay where they are. That's their choice. But we're going to begin tonight with Mr. Mark Mitchell. Mark?
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Shan and the Chamber for hosting this forum this evening. Also like to thank Sharon and Ken for their dedicated time here this evening. And thank everyone here for supporting this process, this part of the process for electing a sheriff. I'd also like to thank the other candidates here for their law enforcement service. In June, my wife and I will be married for 30 years. We have 3 great sons, 3 awesome daughter-in-laws. We have 4 perfect grandkids. So our family has always been committed and will continue to be committed to this community. So why am I running for sheriff again, you ask? Because serving this community is a calling. This is who I am. This is what I'm about. Law enforcement at every level is my passion. Serving with the Indiana State Police, your former Clinton County Sheriff, Marion County Special Deputy, as a police advisor and training in Afghanistan, and also currently serving as the Mulberry Town Marshal. A few things I want to focus on as your sheriff is investing in our greatest asset. That's our deputies. The world is a dangerous place, and it calls for a strong, steady hand that will fight day in and day out, and experience matters. I want to ensure our deputies and our correction officers have the tools and equipment necessary to do their job well, to protect themselves and our community. I will work hard to combine and create community partnerships and attack the community's drug issues. I will work closely with the Frankfort Police, all town marshals, the county council, city council, as well as churches, schools, and other organizations to pool resources to work together to rid our county of drugs. It would be my honor to be your next sheriff. I look forward to participating in this conversation this evening, answering your questions, and I will continue to work hard to earn your vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mark. Our next is Matt Myers, but before Matt comes up, I do want to mention that Jason is right down in the front of the, he's the most important guy. He's the man with the timer, and he will give them the yellow card or the red card. You think it's the soccer match there, Matt, but he will give you the card to let you know as far as time. But Mr. Matt Myers. Matt?
Good evening. First, like to kind of echo the remarks of Mark, thanking the Chamber and our local media, as well as Clinton Prairie, and all of you here this evening, whether you're here to support your candidate or just here to get information about this process that we're all going through. Just thank you for being involved. That's what it takes to make the right decisions for our community. So, I'm 45 years old. I've been married to my wife Lisa for 20 years. We have 2 wonderful daughters. One's a freshman and one is a sophomore at Frankfort High School. I am a graduate of Kokomo High School, Northwestern College of Automotive Technology, the UNA Law Enforcement Academy Corrections Officers course, as well as the Basic Officers course, where I was a honor graduate in the Academic Achievement Award recipient of my basic class course. I was one of 128 students. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 24 years now. I started as a corrections officer and am in my 21st year as a deputy. I've done menial tasks and been in charge of the agency and everything in between. My view is that any task, large or small, if it's part of the operation of the sheriff's office, it's important and it needs to be done to its very best. I'll get this out of the way early. I met my wife in jail. Don't get the wrong idea. It was on the right side of the doors, okay? But no, also, you know, I think it's important to know that Lisa also worked at the sheriff's office and central dispatch for nearly 20 years, serving as a corrections officer and assistant jail commander, dispatcher, investigative assistant, dispatch supervisor. You know, I feel it's important. I want to get across to y'all here that the sheriff's office is part of who I am. It's part of who my family is. My children have grown up in the sheriff's office. It's part of my fiber. And that's what keeps me motivated to do the very best I can every day. And that's what will continue to motivate me as sheriff, to ensure that I do nothing but the very best for our community. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Matt. Our next candidate for sheriff is Mr. Jared Blacker. Jared?
Good evening. Welcome to Clinton Prairie High School. My name is Jared Blacker. I'm a candidate for Clinton County Sheriff. The last time I was on this stage was about 25 years ago, and if you'd have told me I'd been running for sheriff then, I probably would have thought you were crazy. I was on the road, on the path to being a farm boy, but God had other plans for me. I just didn't know it yet. May 29th of 1996, I received a phone call from a very good friend of mine, Scott Klaus. Sorry. I was working on a hog farm then in Clinton County. Scott told me that he was leaving his dispatch job, and he thought I'd be good for that. He said, call the sheriff, check into the opportunity. So I called Sheriff Mike Hensley. He hired me the next day, and that's how my career began in law enforcement 22 years ago. But that's not how my public safety career began. When I was young, my brother had a severe heart defect. Being from a farm community, a strong farm community, many friends and neighbors helped us from time to time. Seeing this taught me about volunteerism, community, and service to others. Something our parents, my parents, had already been teaching us through their organizations and service to their community, or to the community that they were involved in. So when I turned 18 years old, in 1993, I joined the Volunteer Fire Department in Prairie Township, where I still serve proudly in my 25th year, 15 years as chief. I've had a great career, being promoted multiple times, accepting more and more responsibility with each new position. I've never shied away from responsibility because it was hard. I took each endeavor as a challenge to show that I was capable and a challenge to succeed. I'd like to thank Mike Hensley for taking a chance on a 19-year-old farm kid from Colfax when he hired me as a dispatcher and then again as a deputy sheriff. I want to thank Mark Mitchell for promoting me to sergeant, detective, crime scene investigator, and a lieutenant, all under his reign as sheriff. Thank you, sir. I want to thank the Prairie Township Volunteer Fire Department, who allowed me to be their chief for 15 years and gained a lot of valuable knowledge on how to be a leader, how to treat people. I think the people of this community helped me get along the way over my lifetime. Folks like Shan. He was my Youth for Christ leader back in the 90s. It's where I met my wife, Christina. It's his fault. Yeah, that's the best part. But Shan also drove home the importance of faith and family. It's folks like Kenny Thompson and Max Swackhammer, Dave Collier, the Ramseys, the Gangwers, so many more. It's these good people, my family, especially my wife Christina, who's here with us tonight, my friends. That's who's made me who I am today. As sheriff, I will lead the way the folks taught me to lead, and that's by service to above self. I will have my boots on the ground, working hard to keep this community safe, while working equally as hard for each individual at the Sheriff's Department. As sheriff, my main focus will be saving lives, the lives of everyone in Clinton County, because everyone matters. I will organize the department to operate efficiently and at a high level. I will empower all individuals to be leaders and to provide them with the necessary resources to succeed. I will continue to work hard right here in Clinton County. I will continue to be here for my community because that's where I've always been. On May 8th, I ask you to vote for vision, for accountability, integrity, and character. I ask for your vote for Clinton County Sheriff. Thank you.
We're battling some chords up here, but Angie's done a great job. Last but not least, our fourth candidate here tonight. You got the short straw there, Rich, on the numbers, but hey, that's okay. Last but not least, Rich Kelly. Will please welcome Rich. Thank you, Rich.
Good evening. I am Rich Kelly. I reside in this county. I've lived here since I was in kindergarten, a little bit before that. Went through Clinton Central, Frankfort High School, where I graduated from. I reside here with my beautiful wife, Ashley, our 7 children. I will not go through all the children and everything that they're doing, just to save time, because we do have a time restriction. I am an Indiana State Trooper, and I'm in my 25th year. I'm a sergeant in the Commercial Motor Vehicle Enforcement Division. I've had the opportunity to serve this community in a number of capacities and the state in a number of capacities. Among them, I've been a sergeant, the district. I'm a sergeant now out of Indianapolis. I supervise troopers in 22 different counties. I also am a firearms instructor, still to this day. Even the older I've gotten, I still stayed with it. I've seen the inner workings of other agencies. I've seen how it works and what makes it work. Working in involvement with other departments, working with those folks has made me a rounded person as far as seeing the differences that surround us in this state. I've presided over the large details in Indianapolis District for the State Fair, the Indianapolis 500, the Brickyard 400, Black Expo, other details. I spent 10 years as a scout sniper on our SWAT team, so familiarized myself with everything you could imagine, from hostage rescues to active shooters to barricaded people. Finding out that negotiations was the true and the key to everything for a happy ending. So with that experience, it's made me more rounded. I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this community, and it's a program that works for me. I've enjoyed working here for the last 25 years, and this is where I want to stay. This is where we'll raise our children. I was at the Lafayette District before I went to Commercial Motor Vehicle out of Indianapolis. I was their field training officer coordinator, so every new trooper that came in, I coordinated with them, got their training, got them their cars. We all had to sit through it, all the candidates that are sitting up here today as new trooper or new police officers at our agencies. I was a counselor at our 58th Recruit School. I've taught down at the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. I've taught for our academy. Today, I'm an assistant coach with the Frankfort Senior High School football team. I also am a den leader for PAC 338. I also am a member of the FOP and our local Ducks Unlimited chapter. I have also a strong professional background. I believe in the principles of service, integrity, and accountability. I want to provide to this community the leadership and for these officers what they deserve as far as the equipment, the training, and the leadership for them to look back and get the right answer for the right reason. I appreciate your cooperation and consideration for a vote on May 8th. I do appreciate everybody that's up here as candidates and worked with every one of them, and I'll work with them again. Thank you.
All right. A great group of men. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your service and for your willing to serve even in a different capacity. We do have one thing just to mention before we get the question started is that if there is a question that's posed to an individual, that question will be directed to them. They will answer that question. We will give the other candidates, if they choose to chime in, they can do so. But if that question is directed to a particular candidate, that is something that we'll be dealing with. So we're going to start things off. Sharon, even though you were a minute late, we're going to let you start. So Sharon Bardarna. Oh, make sure your mics are, if you guys can make sure, check and see if all that is on. And
Check.
good. I think they were on. So.
Okay, can everyone hear me? All right, just one other thing about the questions. There are some multiple questions, and there are also some questions that we can ask more generally and have everyone answer. So if you feel as if we've ignored your question, it may have been melded into something else. So bear with us. And great range of questions here. So we've got a lot of stuff going. Okay, for all of you, there's been talk from some selected candidates about putting a resource officer at each one of the county schools. There's already one from the Frankfort Police Department at the Frankfort schools. So how do you feel about that, that idea, and how would you fund it?
And how we're going to start, I'm going to try to go back and forth and kind of mix this up. But Rich, since you was last, I'm going to let you go first here in the question.
Okay. The school safety is an utmost importance. I would work hand in hand with the school corporations. We have to remember that the Department of Education has already been given the opportunity for their control and their safety. As far as the schools that are locked down and have the door secured, one way in, one way out, and that protocol has already been set by the Department of Education. As far as an officer and having a resource officer assigned to the schools, I'm going to rely on the community to give me an idea of what would be important to them. As far as the budget goes, it is extremely expensive to put an officer in each and every school. So we'd have to work with the Department of Education. They are budgeted. They already have their allotted budget for a resource officer if they choose so, or they can put it in the security at the school itself. So we have to work hand in hand with the school corporations to make that happen if that's the choice that they want. We're dealing with the educators. They do have a handle on it. We also have to remember that the state of Indiana has already provided schools the opportunity to have armed non-police or police in their schools. It's their choice. That statute's already been passed. They have that authority to make that choice.
Okay, thank you very much, Jared. And we'll ask that you would not applaud after questions. We have a lot of questions, so we'd ask that you hold your applause till after everyone is introduced later this evening as their final comments are being made. Thank you.
Obviously, this question stemmed from my campaign. I feel it's a major, important issue. It's one of the top issues is to protect our children. We have a deputy in the courthouse protecting adults. I think it's time we have a deputy in the school protecting our children. We're in a time that's different now, folks. This is not the same as it was 20 years ago when we were in school. But it's not all about protecting our kids. It's about building relationships. I spoke with one principal at a county school, and we talked about DARE, and he felt that DARE was inadequate and not working well. But one thing we agreed upon is the fact that we need to build relationships. He said that those officers in the schools, when he was talking, or those officers were talking with the kids, those were the relationships they were building. And I believe the foundation of a good relationship is being present. We need to be present in schools. That's why I want to put a deputy in the schools. How are we going to fund it? We're going to a collaborative effort. I've already spoken with a few school board members throughout this community, one in particular that's ready to move forward right now.
All right, thank you, Jared, and now Matt.
I think an important fact that we need to bring up here is that through my experience at the Sheriff's Office over the past couple decades with the schools and through the experience with my own children in our local schools, our administrators and teachers, they're doing a great job, and they care for our children. Working with the sheriff's office, I can say that the sheriff's office and the schools have always had a good working relationship and an open line of communication. And as sheriff, that will continue. And I think that's the key partnership. We're here to serve the schools. If there are certain things that they want, like increased security or whatever, that's fine. We'll work with them to make that happen if that's what they choose. And obviously, you know, if anything, if we're talking about personnel or equipment, budget's an issue, that would be something that the schools and county government would have to work out. But I'm ready to continue to work with the schools, have a good partnership, and help them in any way that we can.
All right, thank you. Mark?
I've gone around and spoke with the 3 rural school, the superintendents and principals. Most of them are on board having an officer in the school. As far as full-time, that's still questionable. Is school security important? It is. We're all familiar with Columbine. It's probably the first school shooting that you're familiar with. Before that, there were 16 other school shootings that you never heard about because of the media. Since Columbine, there's been 25. To put an officer in every school, that officer is $98,000. So, are you ready to pay for the $98,000 to put an officer in every school? I've been working currently with a small committee of putting a solution, a quick solution together, and a good certified solution for the schools until the funding becomes available. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ken?
This question is kind of mine and also from the audience. This is for all of you guys. I need to have you address your plan of action to combat the opioid crisis, and how is the best way that you guys would go about implementing that plan?
All right, Jared, we're going to start with you.
Under my administration, I plan to do some reorganization inside the sheriff's office to allow for another enforcement officer to be placed into the drug work. I think that we need to have more officers working towards that. That would go in line with what Frankfort Police is doing right now and step up our drug task force here in Clinton County. I think that it's not just a one-part system. It's not just enforcement. We have to help on the backside of that. And that's when people are arrested, we can't just put them in jail. We can't arrest the problem away. We need to make sure that our programs that are in the jail are efficient and are helping these folks adequately. I've been looking at some top-level stuff around the nation. HARP is one of them. JTAC is something Boone County's using. I don't know if these plans are the greatest or not, but we need to look at our recidivism rate within the jail to see if these programs are being effective that we're using there, see how these people are coming back, if it's working. I think we need to help on the front and the back side.
All right, Matt?
We need to keep in mind that the drug problem, or however you want to quantify it, is a society issue. Law enforcement is just one part of that. I believed in enforcement as well as recovery and rehabilitation. And rest assured, your law enforcement community currently is fighting the good fight. We're doing a good job at working on this drug problem. The Sheriff's Office, the Frankfort Police Department, all the other agencies that work in this community are doing a great job fighting this drug problem, as well as Prosecutor Sommer and his staff are doing a great job with the cases that we send to them. They're very easy to work with and help us as much as they can. But it's two-part. Strict enforcement of the drug laws. I feel that, you know, if an offender gets into the justice system, they're more likely to get help and have a greater chance for rehabilitation and recovery. And that doesn't always mean incarceration. You know, first-time drug offenders don't always get incarcerated, but unique to the Sheriff's Office is the jail, and a big part of that is helping inmates with recovery and rehabilitation. We already have good programs in place to help that effort. As sheriff, I'll continue to work with probation and courts and community corrections and everyone else that has an interest in helping offenders recover. We have to remember that not everybody in jail is an evil, terrible person. These are our neighbors, our coworkers. These are our community members, so we should do everything we can to help them recover and rehabilitate and be successful once they're out.
Okay. We're going to go to Mark, and then Rich will finish that one up.
Currently, there are 6 programs within the jail facility. There are full-time programs. They keep the jail officers very, very busy, going back and forth. They include like anger management, church, education. All these folks don't even have their GED, so they have programs to help them with that, mental illness management, and so on. There's also a program that I'm familiar with. It's called Heroin Addiction Recovery Program. And I've talked to some people that's very familiar with that. It's about a $30,000 a year program. Again, $30,000, where does that come from? It started with tax dollars. Now they receive some funding for that. Basically $750 per inmate with 40% recovery rate. I think it's a very good investment in our issues with the heroin and opioids. Enforcement is a key part, but again, you have to work with the jail, probation, and community corrections to get these people training or education afterwards. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Rich?
Addressing the opioid issue is it's a multi-part attempt at what we need to get done and how we can accomplish it. That's going to be church, law enforcement, community, rehabilitation. That's what it's going to take. It's not just us as law enforcement standing up here. It's going to take people from the community to help us get to that point. Working as a task force, a true task force. Multiple people from multiple agencies working together for one goal, and that is to put a deterrent out there that people will go to jail for injecting, for using, for selling. That is one of the primary things that we have to do as law enforcement, and then on the backside of it, you got to humanize it. When they are coming out of jail, we have to be able to provide them some place where they can go, give them an opportunity, give them something on the way out the door where they can go get help, reasonable help. So in the future, with the legislation that's coming through the state of Indiana, and if you look at the health department in the state of Indiana, 2011 to 2015, we have more opioid ER visits than any other attached county. Any other attached county, by far. So this is an important something that's in front of us. It is something that we have to get done. It is an opioid issue and a problem that as law enforcement we can play our part, but we're going to need help from our community as well.
All right, thank you very much. Sharon?
Okay, given that we have Clinton County and the number of officers at the Sheriff's Department, and then we also have the city of Frankfort with their officers, also all of the little towns have marshals and deputies and so forth. So does it make sense, both in terms of coverage and also in terms of finances, to just go to somewhat of a unigov structure, and what would that look like?
Okay, Matt, we're going to start with you.
You know, that in Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, for example, they unified. I don't think that would, a case like that would work here in our community. We all work well together now. And just because we're managed by maybe different people and have different budgets, we're all on the same team, we'll work well together and provide good results. I don't see any reason to change that. And I don't see any future for that type of consolidation here anytime soon.
Okay. Rich?
As far as consolidation of law enforcement as a metropolitan police agency, or if you went with the sheriff's department, realize that you still have a chief, or still have a head of the sheriff's department as far as the jail, and you'd still have a chief of police in that structure there, because they're separated at that point in time. As you can look at metropolitan police, with the future and how this county is and this community is growing, starting at the center with our county seat of Frankfort, they're wanting and they will have a lot more growth in the near future. We have ambition and we have those things in front of us. Is it something that we may have to consider in the future? It's not a negative thing, it's a good thing, but it's also something that we may or may not have to do. So in that went to a lot of votes in Indianapolis. It went to a lot of different commissions to decide and make that decision to go to a unified policing force. So is it negative? Not necessarily. I think it's worked in a lot of cities. It's worked in Indianapolis. So I think we'll have to entertain that if that time comes, if we have a big boom of population here in the county. Someday we may have to consider it. If we do, we're doing pretty good.
Okay, Mark.
I would not currently agree with a unigov for the law enforcement. If you look at Louisville and also Indianapolis, again, the struggles that they had putting it together, the struggles that they have right now keeping it together. Right now in Marion County, the sheriff there has almost as many deputies as he did when they merged, because he cannot do his job, that sheriff cannot do his job without his own posse, so to speak. So he has to have his own people. So again, they're rebudgeting for deputies that they originally took away. And again, I would not agree with that. Here in Frankfort, the most things that we compete against is salaries. Who pays more, Frankfort or Clinton County? So that'd be the only thing I'd like to maybe get on the same page about, is just the same salaries. But we all have unique job descriptions. As far as the town marshal has unique issues there and people to answer to. Same way with the county sheriff, and the same way with the city police. One thing with the sheriff's office is unique is your service to the courts. Your number one responsibility is service to the courts.
All right, Jared.
I'm going to have to echo most of what these guys just said. There's not much to talk about on this issue, either for it or against it. I'd be open to the idea. I know that there's been times where we've talked about unifying our detective or investigation forces. So, I mean, it's an idea that's out there. It would have to be, you'd have to bring a lot of people to the table to make sure this would work. You'd have to bring your councils and all your heads together to be sure that because it's not just about people. We can put the people together. We do that day to day on emergencies. It's about who's going to pay for that and how that all works, who's in charge. That's a lot of what it is. It's about who's got the control over it. But as Mark said, that each area does have its own little nuances. The sheriff has a lot of responsibilities that are by state statute, and has the jail, is an arm of the court, the civil process. The town marshal has his own or her own town ordinance that she has to enforce, and the city police are the same way. So there's a whole lot of things you got to think about and put together when you're talking about putting a unigov together, or unified police department.
All right, thank you. Ken.
This is for all of you. What is the top asset that each of you bring or would bring to this position?
All right, we're going to begin with Rich.
The top asset that I would bring to this position as the sheriff of Clinton County is the asset of everything that I've seen and everything that I've done. The people that I've worked with, the different counties, the communities, the cities, the different courts, from being familiar with the state legislation in Indianapolis to everything that happens here locally, and staying in tune with law enforcement every day out there working the road and seeing what we are facing and what the people that I supervise and throughout those 22 counties, what they are facing. So it's not an isolated problem in Clinton County. It's just as the opioid issue, it's across the board, across the state of Indiana. So seeing that and bringing some new ideas and pushing for the future and giving us a stronger centralized sheriff's office, I think it would be, I'd be absolutely ready to take that on.
Okay, Matt.
Experience, passion, motivation. I've been fortunate where my path has led during my career at the sheriff's office. I've gotten to serve under 3 different sheriffs who have done great things for the agency and for the services we provide. I've not only got to witness that, but be part of that, moving the sheriff's office forward, being part of those improvements and growth. I've worked in every division of the sheriff's office, and that has given me great knowledge about and experience in all operations of the sheriff's office. There'd be no acclamation or getting to understand how things operate. It's hit the ground running. And I'm so passionate, and I care for the sheriff's office, its employees, and the services we provide. And I don't think that can be trumped when it's in here.
All right, Jared.
I think I bring a lead from the front mentality. I've always been that way. My parents taught me that way, to be that way. You know what you need to do. You know what needs to be done. You go out there and you make it happen. You serve others. You build up the people who work for you, work with you. You teach them how to empower themselves from all sides of it, from the top, middle, and bottom. Okay? I think that one of my biggest abilities is able to organize and get people in the positions they need to be in. I see what their skills are. I can recognize what they're able to do, and I can put them in a position to make the agency more efficient. And that's what I think we need to do, is be organized, and then we can regroup and get back out there and do what we're good at.
All right, Mark.
I bring experience to this campaign that none of the other candidates have. And that's, I've been there. And I know you're looking at me saying, why do you want to run again? I explained that. This is a passion. It's who I am. I have the experience. I was elected by 92 sheriffs to represent the Indiana Sheriff's Association during state legislature testimony, introducing new laws, and trying to get things passed for this community and the other 91 counties. Again, before, when I was there, motivation and inspire deputies every single day, help them get the tools that they need to do their job and to do it well, to help them protect themselves, help them protect you. That's what the sheriff's position is primarily for. It's administrative, and again, you have to give the deputies the tools that they need. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sharon?
Okay, I have a quick question. I just want to go back to Jared, and this is just this answer or that answer. On the school safety issue, you said that you had schools, or at least one superintendent who was pro. Who's going to fund that? Is it going to be the county, or is it going to be the schools? Which one?
If you just want a direct answer, it's going to be both. The schools I've talked to, the school that I talked to, these board members are very passionate about this topic.
Okay, and I can't let you go longer, so it's just both, right?
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Okay, can each of you speak to any public service, any volunteer activities, any other elected positions that you've held prior to filing as a candidate for this?
Okay, Mark?
Currently, I'm with the county council, which has oversight of all the county budgets. So every county office budget comes before the county council for approval. I was a county sheriff before, oversaw the sheriff's budget and also the jail budget. There are two budgets, and both of those, one is like $1.1 million, and the other is $2.2 million. So you have oversight on that. You have to put those budgets together. Again, responsibility for volunteering, United Way, Boys and Girls Club, church volunteer, and several other organizations like that I participate in and still continue to participate in. Thanks.
All right, Jared.
Well, I've been a volunteer in my entire adult life. Pretty much every waking hour was spent to volunteering if I wasn't at work. I missed a lot of family dinners because of it. Dave, you can understand that. And any other volunteer firefighter, EMT, or police reserve officer who served, especially our military men and women, you understand what it means to put your life on the line for free. And I've done that at the Prairie Township Volunteer Fire Department for 25 years. And I spent 15 years as the chief there. And we went from a department of 16 people to 30 people. We grew and we became better as a crew. and we made a name for ourselves out there in Colfax land. Some of the other things I've done have been a part of the District Planning Council for District 4. I've been a part of the United Way for several years now. And just, Coach Hannah's out there. He knows, man, we've coached a lot of baseball and basketball and softball. I don't know how many kids I've coached over the years, but volunteering for our kids, I've done that a lot. Being director of different organizations and leagues, I'm currently the junior high baseball director for Clinton Prairie here.
All right, Matt?
All my community service has been mostly through the sheriff's office. I've been there since I've been 22 years old, and it has taken a lot of my time, and I've enjoyed it. I've also served the town of Mulberry as a deputy marshal, and I'm currently serving the town of Kirkland as the marshal. But I'm passionate about law enforcement, and that takes up the majority of my time, and has, like I say, for the past 23 years now.
All right, Rich.
Elected positions, I was the president of the National Wild Turkey Federation chapter. I was extremely proud of that. I've also volunteered at the high school coaching, and I've always coached for the Frankfort hot dogs. And it's been enjoyable meeting all the kids throughout the years. I also have coached Little League Baseball, and absolutely probably one of the most fantastic things I've gotten to do as of to this date was to be a Boy Scout den leader. And when you have 6- and 7-year-olds, it is a challenge. So it's been a great time, but I also take on some things personally. My wife and I, we do some things for families that can't help themselves at certain times of the year. So we have a little bit, we can share that, and we do share with them to ensure Christmas, things like that for other families. So I want to, my wife is really the pusher on that. So I want to thank my wife, Ashley.
And she says gobble, gobble, by the way. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it, sorry. All right, let's go on to the next question. Ken.
Okay, this question comes from the audience. How would you handle an accusation of a crime committed by a deputy?
All right, and we'll start with Jared.
Well, anytime someone's going to say that a deputy's committed a crime, it's going to be an important issue that we need to deal with. So the policies and procedures that we have set forth at the Sheriff's Department will be taken into consideration and followed for that entire process. We're going to pull them out in, whoever it is, go through the process of interviewing them, interviewing the witnesses, just like any other investigation, criminal investigation, which I've done for the last 11 years as a detective at the Sheriff's Department. So, I mean, it's not going to be any different. We're going to treat everybody the same because everybody matters. Everybody's opinion matters.
Matt?
Jared's correct. We'll handle it just like any other criminal investigation. Our officers are no different than anybody else. We're going to hold them accountable if things like that are happening. We have, like he said, there's SOPs in place to handle that. We also have, body cameras and car cameras, so there's lots of things that we can review, and if someone's done something wrong, then we're going to hold them accountable. We don't get a lot of that, and hopefully we don't. But I've got some experience with that in my position as supervisor now, handling citizen complaints. I think anybody that has dealt with me knows that we're going to treat everybody fairly, impartially, and take appropriate action regardless of who you may be.
Rich?
Obviously, the accusation starts from the community. It comes to a police agency. As far as my experience with the Indiana State Police, it is something we don't take lightly, and there is accountability, starting with the investigation process on our end of it. Possibly, it does lead to charges against a police officer. We have to review everything, but we will do all of that first, and then we would address the officer, take them out of the position at that point in time until, depending on the complaint or the crime that's been committed. It's something that we will not tolerate, and as far as body camera footage, things like that, in-car camera footage, those things have come back in this community itself to show what has happened. So we definitely have to take the first step in that and make sure that our community is safe, and that if somebody steps out of line, we handle that with professionalism, and we do it the right way, and that's the expectation. As we are going to hold our people, I'm going to hold them to a higher standard, probably than to the community, as the community is.
All right, Mark? With any criminal investigation, starts with the interview process. When did this happen? Where did this happen? And get the statement from the victim or from the witnesses. And again, you start your entire investigation involving the officer, any type of witnesses. If it was on duty, was there a body camera? Was there in-car camera on? If it was off duty, everybody has a cell phone. Everybody's taking pictures of the police nowadays. So again, get the witnesses, find out who was around the area, and review all the video footage. Work with the prosecutor's office. Is this good information, bad information? Is this something that we can charge with, or is this something that we should follow up on? The prosecutor should be involved, not necessarily at the end, but also during the process also, to make sure everything's gone through the proper processes. Thank you.
Okay. Sharon.
Okay, to use a term that you're probably all aware of, and that's that I usually get to be the bad cop in these things. So there have been a few traffic fatalities over the last 12 months, and some of them have been really horrible accidents. We have specific questions for 3 different candidates, and then of course, Matt, you're the one that's not cited specifically. So I want each of you to just kind of talk about how you would enhance public safety, traffic safety specifically, and second, I need you to respond to these particular questions. For Rich, I'm going to go through all of them and then you can start your answers. For Rich, people are asking about a car accident and was everyone drug screened? What were the results? Were they made public? And if no drug screen was done, why not? For Jared, there have been multiple horrific crashes that resulted in fatalities. You were involved directly or indirectly with at least 2. This person alleges that both were compromised with poor investigations. So do you feel that there should be more training to combat that? And Mark, should there be outside resources utilized for public safety to prevent tragedies? And they're speaking specifically about the death of Sylvia Dunk back in 2005, 2006.
Okay, so we'll start with Rich first, since that question was started with you, Rich. So.
Anytime that there's a fatal crash, serious bodily injury, the drivers involved are to be tested for chemical test, by breath, by blood, either one to suffice the state statute or the requirement for that to happen. In the event that one is missed, a lot of times at the hospitals, when they do seek service or they do get transported, there will be a blood draw there, and that has to be subpoenaed at a later date, and it just makes a lot more work. At the initial onset of the crash, you, or as police officers, we're the police officers, it would be a lot easier and a lot more efficient if we had what we consider what we call a FACT team, a fatal alcohol crash team, that with multiple people from multiple agencies, where they come in, assist, everybody is assigned a position or a job, and make sure that these things get done on a timely fashion and reports to the prosecutor on a timely fashion, so that, because we owe these families these answers, whether it's blood draw or whether it's how fast the vehicle was going. We owe these families these answers. So that is one thing, and that is how you avoid missing those blood draws or chemical tests.
Okay, Rich, I was trying to be more diplomatic, but people are asking about a crash that involved your family member specifically.
Okay, that's a lot better. That's more direct. In that crash, there was no blood draw taken on the other driver of the other vehicle. The driver that my daughter was in, she's the back seat person in the back seat, and one of the other people in the vehicle did lose their life in that crash. Even though the other driver was not at fault, he is still involved in a serious bodily injury or a crash involving a fatality. So therefore, both people should have been tested at that point in time. Not just the driver of what was found, the person at fault in the end. It should have been both drivers, regardless, to complete that investigation and have a thorough investigation. and then marry that to what I told you prior to that.
All right. Jared?
Well, like Rich, I'm going to have to ask a question of Sharon to be more direct on these. There's a very open-ended question on the 2 fatality crashes that were alleged that... Okay. I can't address something I don't know about or have an opportunity to investigate, but I can say that traffic safety is a main concern. We have a lot of people dying. That's a bad phrase. We have people dying on our roadways, and we need to come up with a good idea, a good way to work to have better directed patrols, and I believe that's statistically driven. I believe we need to use the database that we spend a lot of money for in our county. Mark Mitchell, when he was sheriff, brought that in under Spillman. The city police have been using it for a long time. There's a lot of data within that computer system that can help direct us to where we need to be, where our problem areas are at. And I think using the statistics, the data that's available for us, and directing our officers to patrol those areas, I think will go a long way to reducing the crashes and fatality crashes in our community. As far as the poor investigations, I really don't know how to answer that. I've done everything in my power to do the best of my ability in each case from the time I started to now. So without any direct knowledge of what specific incidences those are referring to, I wouldn't be able to answer it adequately. I'm sorry.
Okay, Mark?
In any death investigation, as far as a traffic accident, there are state statutes that cover that, what you do, what you don't do with it. Again, the prosecutor's office should be involved in that also. And again, specifically, if there are targeted areas, we need to have some directed patrols. Now, this county has 800 square miles. There's 21 officers, including the sheriff. So the resources are pretty limited. Again, should outside resources be requested? Of course they should be requested. Are they always responded to? Depends on the agency that you're requesting them from. Specifically to the Sylvia Dunk issue that happened just south of Rossville, that started out as a missing person, and we had no reason to believe at the time that there was any type of criminal activity or any other suspicion other than she was just missing. We did incorporate some report, and they came out and assisted us with that. We flew the area, checked different areas, walked areas, but we did not have other agencies come in. We did not see any reason to have other agencies come in at that time. Unfortunately, that ended in a death also, and I think about that a lot, and so does the investigating officer. We talk a lot about that. Thank you.
All right, Matt, if you want to add to any of that?
I'll try to chime in on that. First, I'd like to say that, speaking for the Sheriff's Office, we have talented, dedicated, motivated people that do a great job every day. And that's enforcement and corrections alike. It's a tough job, and we've got great people doing it. Is there always room for improvement? Absolutely. As far as traffic safety, our people are out there hitting it every day. But specific, we talked about directed patrols. Yes, that's a thing. I'll try to increase those. We can also, as part of this, drugs were brought into this conversation. So, part of my plan is to increase local drug interdiction efforts. I won't expand on that too much in this forum, but these traffic accidents can be kind of thrown in with the drug topic, and again, it's part of a society problem. We've got to try to get on kids early and to let them know that drugs and driving are not acceptable in any form. But we do a good job trying to make our highways safe, and we'll continue to do that, and hopefully be more effective as every year goes by.
Okay. Ken.
What are your guys' thoughts on the partnership between the Sheriff's Office and the Frankfort Police Department? If it needs improvement, how the best way to go about doing it? Are you guys satisfied with it, and does it need to be improved?
Matt, we'll start with you.
I can't say enough of how well the two agencies work together. Like like I've stated before, I've been with the Sheriff's Office for a long time, and throughout that entire period, our agencies have worked well together. It's just how it is, and it's not saying that there's, it doesn't take a lot of effort. We just all work well together. We have the same goals. We're working with the same community members. We just have different colored cars and different uniforms. Obviously, as the Sheriff's Office, we have some different responsibilities, but in the end, we're all about public safety and doing what we can to make our community safer. So, as far as I'm concerned, keep doing the good work that we're doing together.
All right, Mark?
I would say that the working relationship is outstanding. It's a direct reflection on the police chief, the prior police chiefs. The Sheriff's Office and the City Police work together with a combined SWAT team. Each agency has canine units that work together. When there's a large issue at the jail, the first people that the jail calls is the deputies. Then again, the Frankfort Police comes in and lends a hand there. When it comes to training, we change off on instructors. We train at the same time. We all have the same requirements. So again, yeah, we work well together. And again, I've had lunch with the police department, different other organizations, and again, my responsibilities may be for Mulberry and Frankfort for Frankfort and the county for the county. But again, when there's not an on-duty officer in Mulberry, then the Sheriff's Office comes in and works it. And then we share resources and information that way. Thank you.
All right, Jared?
Well, I'd have to say over the course of my career, it's been up and down at times, but I will say, Chief Bacon, you're here tonight. You've done a phenomenal job, and I think everybody ought to thank him when they walk out, because he's taken the Frankfort Police to the next level, in my opinion. He's got officers that are working very hard. He's sending them to training. I've seen him send guys to leadership training and gals. So I think he's got the 12-hour shifts going. I really like what he's doing. He's being very proactive. He's working with his people, and that in turn is boding well with our folks. They're seeing what's going on. They're enjoying that. They're working the same 12-hour shifts now, so guys are getting to bond a little bit and work together. I think it's only gotten better in the last couple of years than it has been in my 24 years there, or 22 years there. Sorry, I had 2 of your years.
All right, Rich.
The relationship between the Sheriff's Office and the Frankfort City Police. A lot of you look at me and say, he's a state trooper, what's he going to know? For several years, I worked in our marijuana eradication program, worked hand in hand with Frankfort City Police, with the Clinton County Sheriff's Department, our aviation section, and from that relationship with Frankfort City and I, as well as the county, we worked a lot of areas, a lot of things, a lot of drugs, sitting out at midnight, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, doing surveillance and things like that. As far as a working relationship, it's a good working relationship. Absolutely, can it be better? That's when we sit down with the heads and we sit and talk, we make things better, we get stronger, and we find a better plan to identify, isolate, and take those things out of our community that we don't want. That's opioids, that's marijuana, that's cocaine. If it's illegal, it's a problem, and that's what we'll work together to do.
All right, Sharon.
Okay. The position of sheriff, excuse me, position of sheriff obviously involves the sheriff's department and the deputies, and then there is also the jail. So how would you manage the costs, the health care requirements, mental health requirements, recovery requirements, etc. for that jail population?
Jared?
Big question. And I get to go first, Rich? Sure? Okay. Really, you got to put people, I believe in empowering our people and working together and building those partnerships with the people that work with us. And you put people in positions. Lieutenant Rick Morgan right now is our jail commander, and he does a phenomenal job. And you got to put a lot of your eggs in their basket to let them do their job and let them know that you are there for them. You're going to support their decisions that they make, and you're going to work together as a team. The finances is something that's going to be new to me. I'm not going to lie. Okay, I've been an investigator. I've been boots on the ground guy. I'm not up in the financial sector of all this. That's one thing I will have to learn. But I'll tell you, that can be learned. Okay, hard work, determination, dedication, being there every day, working the hardest cases, doing internal affairs, working the cases against other officers. I've had to do those. That's the hard stuff, okay? You can bring people in and think about the financial side of things and work on those when it's not it's not an emergency. Those are times that you can work together and work things out.
All right, Rich?
As far as the budget and the finances for medical health, obviously we're going to treat prisoners that need medical health. They are going to have to be treated. First thing would be, do they have insurance? Do they have Medicaid? Do they have outside insurance? That insurance is billed first, and then we come to the point where a person's indigent, and then it's assigned by the sheriff's office to have to pay that through the county's general fund. It's not something that we want to do. It's not something, but it is. We're going to provide that care to these folks. So it is something we have to look at, and also look at the other end of it. Some of that can be funded with outside sources. There's payback for prisoners that are there for X amount of days. After 72 hours, we can start requesting payback. I think it's $30 a day, and in certain counties, it's $50 a day. So there's something there that we have to work with and look at. But as far as the budget, we're going to do our best to make sure that we screen these inmates and make sure that if they have outside insurance, obviously we're going to go with the outside insurance first, and then we're going to deal with everything after that. So as far as budget, we'll work at it.
All right, Matt.
The budgets are a big deal. Like Mark said, there's two of them that the sheriff has to contend with. The budget for the sheriff's office and the budget for the jail. You know, that's something that you need strict oversight on to ensure that every tax dollar we get is spent in a manner that provides the best services to our community. As far as the health care in the jail, obviously we have the sheriff's office hires a company that oversees the health care, but there's a lot of working parts for that. We also have memorandums of understanding for some, like mental health, people that come in that do that for free. There's also grants available for certain recovery and rehabilitation programs. There's just a lot of moving parts that we could spend a whole evening talking about, but the budget's a big deal. It takes strict oversight and constant attention to try to plan for things seen and unseen, and I'll provide that oversight.
Mark.
Combining tools and resources are very important. Not one person has the answers. I've been to two forums, local forums here, and a combination of maybe about 8 people speaking. And they're very professional people. Not one person has come up with any type of a solution on how to take care of any type of a drug problem, and so it is going to be very expensive. The inmate care, that's probably one of the top 3 budgets or cost for the jail, is the care of the inmates. And once an inmate comes in, you are responsible. The sheriff is responsible, also the taxpayers. There is no outside agency to bill. And then again, working together, I've also encouraged with the county commissioners to buy additional property behind the jail currently, so we can, maybe, working together, build a facility that we can use to get treatment and to treat other issues that come within the jail. Thank you.
All right, Ken.
This question came from the audience, with many individuals weary and viewing law enforcement in a negative way. How would you guys help bridge the gap between the public and yourselves to build a stronger relationship?
Matt?
I don't think I agree with that assessment. Here in Clinton County, my experience is we have a great working relationship with the community. Sure, there's people that aren't, the police aren't their favorite people, but typically that's because we're out there doing our job, and sometimes that's uncomfortable for them people. But, you know, we're working every day, provide services to our community, and we're making sure we do that fairly and impartially, and that we treat people with respect and dignity, and we'll continue to do that. and I'll continue to ensure that happens as sheriff.
Mark?
I think here in Clinton County we have a large support for public safety, law enforcement in particular. One of the things, again, you would think that Troy's running for an office here, all the kudos he gets, but he has a Citizens Academy. I mean, what a great opportunity to get the citizens come in to see the law enforcement perspective of how things get done and why they get done. And again, there are leadership schools that the Indiana Sheriff's Association puts on, Indiana Chiefs of Police puts on, and again, I would not agree that the average person disagrees with the law enforcement and thinks that law enforcement is a bad name. It's a good name. You hear the attacks that law enforcement might do, defending themselves against other attacks, but you don't hear how many law enforcement agencies or officers are injured or how many agencies are attacked themselves. It's always the other way around. How many bad law enforcement officers did bad things today, not how many bad things happened to law enforcement. Thank you.
All right, Rich.
As far as closing that gap between people with a negative attitude or negative outlook on law enforcement, it's transparency. It's making the community understand what we do for a living and what our agency is all about as far as the sheriff's office. Social media, it's here, it's not going away, it's only getting bigger, it's only getting faster, it's only getting into everybody's cell phone, it's in every high school, it's being taught, it's majors in high school now, or in colleges now. So you close that gap with information. You close that gap with information, you be able to answer the questions that come in, you give courteous service to the folks that come into the front door, you be polite, and you be transparent. You make it happen. And that's a part of making and closing that gap between people that have question about law enforcement to them exactly knowing. Citizen academies, things like that, broadening and making a bigger footprint with reserve officers, including our volunteers from our community. I think that is what we need to do, and that's what we have to do for the future to close that gap for people that have a negative outlook or not so of an educated outlook on law enforcement. Thank you.
Jared.
I don't think there's a mistrust in law enforcement. I think it's just uncertainty and unknown what we really do, especially at the Sheriff's Department. In my travels in the last 10, 11 months, I found that a lot of people don't know what the Sheriff's Department does. They don't know who the sheriff is. And that's why I feel like we need to be out in the community more. Like Rich was saying, we need to be transparent. We need to be out there, be present. I believe that being present, like I said, is the foundation of building relationships. If we're not there with people, they don't know who we are. But we need routine community conversations, and we've got to echo Troy again. I mean, Chief Bacon's, he's leading the way in that, and that's what we need to do for the county as well. We need to have an enhanced social media campaign. He's looking off my notes here. The community education programs. One thing I want to do is I work with Purdue University. I know some folks there to develop an app that we can put on our smartphones because everybody has one. I guarantee y'all have one here right now. My dad even has an iPhone, so I think it's time that everybody else probably has one too. So we need to be more present. I want to have community conversations, and currently we have a program where we do RAD for women, for the rape, aggression, defense, and we do firearms for women. I want to expand that to where we're doing it. I've had people ask me, and I've had to send them to Boone County because guys want to do this, teens want to do this. We need a teen law enforcement academy right here. The Frankfort Police does the Citizen Academy. We can host the Teen Academy, a week-long thing for everybody, that's kids that want to learn more about law enforcement. We educate them. That way they understand what's going on in our community as they get older.
All right, so let's go. We're going to try to get 2 more questions in. So Sharon, you're on up next.
Okay, if you were to enact training programs or a particular training program for the officers at the Sheriff's Department, what one thing do you think would be needed?
Jared, you were on a roll, so just keep going.
Actually, I have a plan for this. I think being a coach kid mentor, which I didn't get to answer earlier as part of my volunteerism, but I meet every week with a kid, and through Coach Kids, and I mentor him and talk to him, and that builds that relationship. And I think as officers, and this isn't just deputies, there's more to the Sheriff's Department than just deputies. There's the civilian staff, there's investigators, the patrol deputies, corrections officers. There's everybody play a part in this, and I think we need to start a mentoring program. And because I think we throw too much at one person, throwing them around with different people. I'd like to put them with one person, because we all know at the Sheriff's Department who one guy is that's really good, and we can put him with that, or gal. And we have one person in the jail that is really good. Why do we need to reinvent the wheel? I know I was told when I was growing up, you got to see what the bad guy, some of the bad and some of the good, and form your own opinion. As the sheriff, I think I would want to find the best and have that one training everybody.
Okay. Matt?
There's lots of things related to training, and they're all of equal importance to me. But training is important. It's good to constantly keep up on technology, techniques, and tactics to not only help prevent crime, but respond to it appropriately. Training helps with keeping our officers sharp, gives them confidence. It also helps mitigate potential liability for the officer and for the agency. So training's imperative, and we do good training now within the agency, but I'm going to try to find ways to, work with the budget to try to find more opportunity to send our staff to training outside of the agency to make sure we're keeping up, like I say, on technology and new techniques and tactics to make sure we're giving the very best we can to our officers and our community.
All right, Mark?
Earlier I talked about investing in our greatest asset, and that is the deputies. So what do the deputies need to keep themselves safe and do a good job and do it well to help keep you safe? So it's not what I want, it's not what I think, but what they need. So that would be a number one. One of the first things I would do is check with the training. What kind of training do they need? Do we just have one accident reconstructionist? Do we have just one firearms instructor? Why don't we have multiple? I realize it's expensive, but again, you chip away at it 1, 2, 3 at a time. So you get those people trained, you get them out there, and again, once you're trained, you have to go back for retraining. You can't just say, well, I'm a certified traffic investigator right now, so 3 years from now, or 6 years, or 8 years from now, are you still that certified accident reconstruction that you got certified 8 years ago on? Things have probably changed. Thank you.
All right, Rich.
One of the specific things to address is mental illness, and that's something that I think goes hand in hand with the opioid process, drug abuse process, spice process, with everything. I think the mental health training, the ability to see it, the ability to know how to deal with it as a law enforcement officer out there on the road is becoming very important in this day and age. So that is one aspect of training that I think should be brought to every officer, not just one, but it's for everybody. And that's something that we're dealing with more and more, is that folks out there with mental illnesses, and that's probably, I think that was what the question was a specific point, and what training would they get. So that's one thing I would like to lean towards, is a mental health issue, because it covers a lot of bases, and a lot of those issues stem from drug abuse.
All right, in the home stretch, down to the last question. You guys have done a great job. We're going to, Ken, bring us home.
All right, this question came from the audience, and I think this is a very good one as well. What do you feel is the biggest issue facing the Sheriff's Department, and what would you do to address that issue? Rich, we'll start with you.
One of the biggest issues, I believe, facing the Sheriff's Office today is its budget. We all budget everything in our lives. We budget, we look at it, we see what we can get, how much can we get done, it's budget. That's one of the biggest issues I think the Sheriff's Office faces. It's just like working with other parts of the county government to buy more property, to expand, to do better things and do more things. Have an officer in every school. It all surrounds around budget. Some of the aspects of maybe some help with that is to house more DOC commitments from the Department of Corrections in our facility to receive money that goes into the county's general fund, things like that. We have to think outside the box when we come to this, but I think budget is probably one of the largest things we have to deal with because almost nothing is free. Almost nothing.
All right, Jared?
Being from within the Sheriff's Department for the last 22 years, I got that right, Matt. I think one of the biggest problems we face is communication and leadership. And I've served through 3 sheriffs, Mark, Mike Hensley, and currently Jeff Ward. And I think I've learned a little something from every single one of them. And I think that we need to make sure that we are organized. Everybody is communicated with exactly what the process is, exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and exactly how we want it to be done. And then we let them go and we empower them to do their jobs. We let them learn to be leaders. We help them learn to be leaders. I think communication and accountability are two of our major issues. When we do something wrong, you're held accountable. When we do something right, we share that success with people. It's double-edged there. It goes both ways. So communication and accountability.
All right, Matt.
There are a lot of moving parts with the Sheriff's Office. It's not, maybe the public sees us on the roadways in our patrol vehicles stopping cars, but it's much more than that. It's not just law enforcement, it's also corrections and serving the court and maintaining a facility that operates 24/7, housing, currently probably around 170 people. So there's lots of moving parts. Whether it's a small part or a big part, they're all important. And they all need to be done to the very best. And as sheriff, you need to make sure you stay on top of all those moving parts. And like Rich said, budget is always an issue. So you have to make sure you're keeping an eye on your budget to make sure that you can keep all these parts moving well together. And that takes strict oversight on the budget as well as all the operations of the Sheriff's Office. Enforcement, corrections, serving the courts, maintaining the facility. There's a lot going on there, and it's all important, and everything needs to be done to its very best.
All right, Mark.
Challenges, the budget's always a challenge. Again, it's a work in progress with the county council and the office holder. In this case, it would be the sheriff. Again, if you need a big budget item, you have to pre-plan for that. Some of those are to become emergencies. Again, we have a jail report here. The jail inspector says we need 5 more jail officers. Where's that money coming from? More taxes? I don't know. Right now, we're pretty strapped. 21 officers for 800 square miles. If you see a deputy during your daytime, when you're out traveling around at night, consider yourself lucky. That's a blessing. Not very many people see that deputy. 21 deputies for 800 square miles. Where does their closest backup come from? If they're in Rossville, their backup coming from Kirkland. If they're in Mulberry, is their backup coming from Colfax? Again, budgets, restraints. It's very important that these officers, correction officers, and deputies have what they need to help keep you safe. Thank you.
All right, we've come now to the final comments of the candidates. They will have 2 minutes to complete their comments. Again, I would ask that you would hold your applause until the complete end, and then we will certainly appreciate and applaud these folks all together. So, Mark, you'll start with us, and we'll go right down the line like we did in the beginning.
Again, why am I running for sheriff again? It's my passion, my calling, it's who I am, it's what I'm about. As your next sheriff, I will stay energized and motivated for our deputies. I want to be motivated and inspire them every single day. I want to invest in our greatest asset, our deputies. This is more important than ever, and I want to do just that. We have, again, over 800 square miles for 21 officers, including the sheriff, to patrol. We need to increase our public safety presence, all while being financially responsible. We have a jail on an average that houses 160 to 180 inmates. I am financially responsible and will continue to be so while combining resources to give the sheriff's office the tools and every opportunity necessary to do their job well, including training. If it matters to you, it matters to me. No issue is too small, from uneasy feelings to traffic issues, domestics, drug-related calls. It all matters. The main responsibility of your sheriff is to serve the courts, manage the jail, and be the administrator of the sheriff's budget and jail budget. I have successfully done that, and I will do so again. As your next sheriff, I pledge to be tough on crime, to direct the full power of the sheriff's office to keep the citizens of Clinton County safe. Again, I appreciate your time this evening, your interest in this process, and I want to thank my family and friends for their unwavering support through this campaign and in my life. I respectfully request your vote as your next sheriff for Clinton County. God bless and have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Mark. Come on up.
I'm a novice to politics, and I'm sure that probably has shown here tonight. Obviously, I'm nervous. Maybe I didn't get all my points across. I didn't bring any notes with me because I want to speak from the heart and try to relate my passion for my career. I'm experienced, motivated, and passionate about the sheriff's office in our community. As sheriff, I'm going to be accountable. I'm going to work hard for my staff and also ensure that they're accountable and work hard for the community. Sorry. Any action taken or plan implemented will first be thoroughly thought out, thoroughly researched, and properly implemented. I will ensure that our deputies and our corrections officer are highly trained, well equipped, and properly deployed. I understand that, you know, when someone calls the sheriff's office, it may be one of their most urgent or vulnerable times. So I will ensure that whoever shows up at their door is well trained, properly equipped, and motivated, and ready to deal with whatever their situation is. I will ensure good communication with the community through, I will make myself available as much as physically possible to personally hear concerns or issues anyone in the community may have. I'll try to work with social media to help get information out to our community that I feel is important. You know, I don't think that you should hear from the sheriff's office every day about this and that, but I do think that we can improve getting information to the community. That's important. I don't want you to see my face every day, and I don't, you know, that's not what I'm here about. Like I said earlier, I will make sure that I provide strict oversight and accountability for the sheriff's office budgets and ensure that every tax dollar we have is spent in a manner that gives us the greatest effect on the services we provide. I want you to know that if, as sheriff, the Clinton County community will have 100% of me. I'm ready to carry the weight of the office of sheriff, and I will ensure that I protect all the interests of all members of our Clinton County community fairly and impartially. Please vote Myers May 8th. I won't let you down.
Jared.
feel honored to stand up and sitting beside these guys all evening. I'll tell you what, they're a bunch of great guys, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Blackerforsheriff.com. Please go there, because there's no way possible from the time they give us to answer all the questions and provide all the information we have. First of all, I want to thank God, His strength and His guidance, the Chamber for managing this event forum this evening, and Clinton Prairie, my alma mater, for providing the venue. I want to thank our great campaign staff volunteering for us, and those who have supported the campaign physically, emotionally, and financially. Most importantly, I want to thank my wife, my children, and all of my family for their support during this very arduous process. Everyone has worked very hard for us to be successful, and Christina and I can't thank you all enough. David Villa said, "I believe there is no secret recipe to achieving success, but there is a key component required to achieve your goal. That component is action. One's success can be measured by the actions that you take every single day that will put you one step closer to achieving your goal. I will not stand before you tonight and tell you I'm the most qualified or the best, or any other words that lead you to believe that I think I'm the end all. What I will tell you is I've been dedicated in taking action every single day to gain the necessary experience and the trust it takes to be a leader. I believe I am qualified. I believe we need a deputy in each school in Clinton County full time. Our children are our future, and we must provide an environment that is safe and one that fosters strong relationships with law enforcement. We must be present. I believe we have a drug problem that doesn't just involve how many arrests have been made. The problem is a ripple effect that's created from the addiction. It affects the community when your homes are broken into to feed the habit. It affects the children who are neglected because their parents are passed out, strung out, or just simply not there. The problem is real, and just because it hasn't affected you yet doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I've experienced it firsthand. As your sheriff, I promise to work hard every day for this community to save lives. I promise to lead with fairness while being firm. I promise to be consistent, hold individuals accountable, and to do so with compassion. I promise to empower each individual in any role, whether it be to lead from the top, the middle, or the bottom of the department. I promise to do what's best for the individual while simultaneously doing the same thing for our community. Thank you for being present, engaging in the process, and making yourself informed. Be safe as you travel from here. Have a good night, and God bless. Blacker for Sheriff, May 8th. Thank you.
The process that started for me was in 1992. I was at the University of Indianapolis. I was playing football, wrestling, doing all of that, and I did an internship at the Hendricks County Sheriff's Office. At that internship, I realized that this is what I wanted to do. This is what I was going to do. Through the time that I was there at the Sheriff's Office to the time that I became an Indiana State Trooper in 1993. This has been my community. This is what I've cared about. The good, the bad, the blessings, they've all come in this community. In 1996, I've had the great opportunity to survive a horrific crash. In 2006, I'm sorry, but in that time period, you find what you need in life, and that is the people that are around you, the career that drives you. I see what's happening in this community. I understand what's happening in this community. I look in the crowd, and I try and cut everybody's chest off tonight with T-shirts, things like that. These people are still our community. No matter what, I still see friends in every color T-shirt, every supporter. I see the family. I used to live down the street from Mark and Wanda. This is our community. It is time for us to step forward and provide strong leadership for the deputies and the jail staff, the correction staff. Give them the direction that they need, the strength from the front, so that they know that they are supported in the decisions that they make and the things that happen to them on a daily basis. Supervising people over the vast areas that I've been to, it has been an absolute great thing, because I have had every walk of life. Men, women, Christians, Muslims. I've supervised everybody. And I see every part of their life and what it takes to make them happy, make them understand that we care about them. So the biggest thing is the strength of our community lies in its people, and that's what I am going to count on, and that's what I promise to bring to you on May 8th. Vote for Rich Kelly. You can go to our website, check it out, www.richkellyforsheriff.com. But please, do the looking, do the reading, do the research, make a vote on May 8th. Thank you.
All right, I think they've all done a great job. Would you give them a round of applause? We appreciate it very much. I think Clinton County is in pretty good hands, and we're looking forward to May 8th. Our next forum will be April 10th, right now scheduled at 6:30 at the Iron Block at 62 North Main Street, downtown Frankfort. We invite you all to come. That is County Commissioner District 3 election forum next Tuesday, April 10th. Sharon, Ken, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Mark, Matt, Jared, and Rich, thank you so much for your service and for your willingness to be an elected official. Drive safely. The Cubs are about 5 minutes, okay? Have a great night.
You've been watching WILO TV, the Sheriff Forum at Clinton Prairie High School, presented by Wampler Services Incorporated and Encompass Credit Union. Without their help, we couldn't be here. And we also want to thank the 4 contestants, Rich Kelly, Jared Blacker, Matt Myers, and Mark Mitchell, and the Chamber of Commerce tonight, including Shan Sheridan and Jason Wilhite. We also want to thank John Myers and Angie Schilling, who helped us with the sound and the facilities at Clinton Prairie High School. Clinton Prairie has been very hospitable to us tonight. Once again, thank you to Wampler Services Incorporated and Encompass Credit Union for making this possible.